Alrighty, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you for everybody that is watching today or watching the recording here in the future. This is a topic that I love to talk about because I think it's information that's not shared enough, and it's really a game changer in the weight loss space. And I wish it was more mainstream, but it never will be because it's not the sexy stuff that companies can sell for products and 6-week programs and stuff. So you'll never probably see it marketed that way. And so it takes people like me that can help spread the good news and let people know that there's a different way of doing things that's far more sustainable and far less invasive, as most diet programs are. This is a flexible dieting is how I coach all of my own nutrition and fitness clients. I wouldn't do it any other way. It's so adaptable and moldable to meet every person on their skill set, their schedule, their travel schedule, their food preferences. It doesn't have to be any one way. That's why it's called flexible dieting. So we'll get into what it is and isn't. Other than that, we've had a lot of good live trainings in the group so far, and most of them have been a bit longer. They've been about an hour. I'm going to try and start doing a couple of these when they're just me. They'll be like shorter. We'll keep them to 20-30 minutes, allow time for some questions at the end, and then let you guys get on about your way. So I hope to do like at least one weekly on just kind of like a quick topic like this, and we'll go from there. So I did put together a quick little presentation, if I can figure out how to share my screen for anybody that wants to see it. So give me 1 second. And okay, perfect. With the screen being shared, I cannot see the chat. And so if anybody has any questions, just unmute yourself and jump in at any time so I don't miss you there. Okay, so the intent of this little presentation is just to go over quickly like what flexible dieting is. And first, I want to bring up all of the current, diets that you'll see in the mainstream world. I have, a bunch listed here on the slide: keto, Optavia, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, the paleo, South Beach, intermittent fasting, isogenics, Herbalife. We all know there's a gazillion of them. They could go on and on and on. But they all have one thing in common, and that would be they all operate out of a calorie deficit, literally. Every single one of them. They all work, absolutely. I'm not here to tell you that any of those don't work. The HCG diet, all of them, they all work in the immediate term. They all will work, and they all work by putting you in a calorie deficit. Whether you know it or not, it's not because of the magic food or the magic shots or the magic shakes or the magic portions or pills or whatever they're giving you. They literally all work because you are taking in less than you are burning throughout the day. So it's a calories in versus calories out thing, which ultimately leads to weight loss. That doesn't mean all calories are necessarily counted equally, but that's a topic for another day. But we can't outsmart the rules of thermodynamics, and that's just physics. So if you are taking in less energy than what you are expending in a day, you're going to lose weight. On that note, actually, I'll get into that on the next slide. So if all the diets work, then really what's the problem with them? Why don't they actually work then? And the problem with most mainstream diets, and we see it all the time, we see it on all of our friends on Facebook and people looking for the newest thing. And people get results, with all of these. You'll have anybody comment and say, oh, I lost 30 pounds doing this, and I lost 20 pounds doing this. Absolutely, they all work if you follow the plans. The problem is what happens when you stop doing that plan, or you quit paying for the food and the shakes and whatever, or you've had enough of that and you can't do it any longer. Then there's a problem. There's no exit plan for these. There's no way to incorporate them into the real world. They don't teach you anything. They don't change any behaviors. So once you go right back to doing what you were doing before this crazy diet plan you were on, you eventually end up right back to the same weight you were at, usually, if not even heavier. That's really not common. The more you yo-yo, typically every time you yo-yo diet, you will end up heavier on the, downstream road from it than you did when you started. So other problems with these type of diets are, obviously, it leads to food obsession, just the extreme restriction and deprivation. You start, our bodies are hardwired to want to get food in, and we will focus hard on the things that we can't have. So the more you restrict something, the more you can't have something, the more you demonize some type of food, whether it's carbs, candy, chocolate, alcohol, chips, I said carbs, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. The more it's like when somebody says, well, don't think about the pink elephant. Well, then what does everybody think about? They think about the pink elephant, right? It's just the way our brains work. So most of these diets are extremely low in calories, like unnecessarily low. Most of them are sub 1,200 calories. That's just like some weird number that the diet industry has come out with, that all women are supposed to diet on 1,200 calories or less. And I talk to women all the time, and they are convinced, absolutely convinced, that they will not lose weight unless they eat like 800 to 1,100 calories, which is absolutely freaking insane for most people, unless you are a very tiny human. And by very tiny human, I'm talking like 5 foot to 100 pounds kind of thing. That's somebody that may have to, if they're pretty sedentary, may have to get down to like 1,100, 1,200 calories. Absolutely. But for most of us, it's way, way too little. Most of us can diet on far higher calories than what we expect, but we are also intaking more calories than what we expect. Humans are not good at estimating their actual calorie intake for the day. We kind of tend to forget about the bites, licks, tastes, and little sips of things here and there that contribute to all that stuff. But the main takeaway is that these diets are usually very low in calories. And so they absolutely get everybody results, because no matter who you are, your body size, whatever, they're set low enough that you're going to lose weight. But they teach you nothing. There's no permanent behavior change. There's no healthy habit development. They don't solidify in any of that. So ultimately, you end up gaining the weight back. I mean, we've all done this. I'm not immune from it myself. I've done this too. So I will fully admit to that. So this is where flexible dieting can come in. And I'm really, really excited to bring this to you guys who aren't familiar with it, because this is the answer to all of your prayers. This is extremely backed by science and evidence-based researchers. This isn't some kind of like voodoo program that I bought into that I'm trying to, shill for some side cash or anything. This absolutely works. It's like I said, research over and over and over and over and over again. And it goes back to the whole principle of you just have to take in less calories than what you're burning. And with that being said, it really doesn't matter what those calories come from. And that sounds extreme, but it's not. There was actually a professor at Kansas State University that did a research study on this and wanted to kind of prove this fact. So he dieted on nothing but Twinkies for, I can't remember, it was like 2 months or 3 months, something like that. And he lost a significant amount of weight on Twinkies. I think he took like a vitamin mineral supplement and a protein shake to make sure he had his protein in, just for like general health. But other than that, the only thing he ate for the entirety of the research study was Twinkies, and he still lost weight. There's been people that have done this by only eating McDonald's, literally 3 meals a day. That's what they ate, was McDonald's. But as long as they controlled their calories, they still lost weight. By that same principle, you can drink wine. I mean, you could, in theory, have your whole diet be taken up by wine, which isn't really going to make you feel great and not good for, health. But if you stay under your calorie allotment for the day, you're going to lose weight. So the most important point to take away is that you will successfully achieve fat loss no matter what you eat, as long as you remain in a calorie deficit. And I have here, if you want a slice of pizza, have a dinner out with your spouse, eat an ice cream bar, it's fine. You just got to fit them in your calories for the day. There are things that will make the process easier. Like if you eat foods that have more fiber in them, or more voluminous, they make your stomach actually feel physically fuller. So it makes the process less, like you feel hungry a lot less. Actually, most people that I start on this method of dieting, they all tell me, they're like, I'm full, I don't want to eat, I've never eaten this much food, I can't believe this is like a diet. Are you sure my calories aren't too high? I have to like hold their hand and walk them through that for the good bit until they start seeing progress happen, because they really don't believe me that they can like feel this way, not feel like they're starving, and actually make progress. So one way I like to explain this to you guys is a flexible dieting is kind of like having a budget, just like a money budget, except for it's in calories. So let's say you have, we'll say, like a $2,000 budget for the month. Well, we'll say if you have a $2,000 budget for the month, you have to pay your rent and, the necessities, and that would be equivalent to what we have to expend just to stay alive. Like you have to spend this money. So you have calories that are taken up by your body just to spend to keep you alive. From there, though, if you decide to blow the rest of your expendable income on, say, a fancy car, you're not going to have a lot of money to do anything else with. And this is the way calories work. So you have a calorie budget. You have to get your bare necessities in for health, ideally. But then the rest is, you can do whatever you want to with it. And if you decide to eat an entire pizza, well, you're probably not going to have much left for anything else. So once that pizza is digested, if that's, you had that for lunch, for say, well, you just blew your whole calorie budget for the whole day. So you have to be a little bit smart about how you structure this. But it's not as hard as you think, because like I said, most people are going to end up dieting on far higher calories than you think. But the takeaway is that whatever you want to fill those calories with, to a certain extent, is up to you. Whether it's pasta, carbs, fat, chips, veggies, a cocktail, it's totally flexible. So that brings me to the next slide that says, so can I eat blank food? I get this question a lot. What about, all the time I get, can I eat fruit? Which is so sad to me that people think they can't eat fruit, or people think that they can't eat carrots because carrots have sugar in them. And I'm like, look, America's not getting fat on fruit and carrots. That's not the problem here. Let's be real about that. So with a question that says, so can I eat blank food? And the answer with flexible dieting is always yes. You always can. It always is a possibility. But the other side of that is, flexible dieting means you have unconditional permission to eat anything, but not unconditional permission to eat everything. So you do have to kind of pick and choose your day to day, like, where do you want to spend your calorie budget today? What means the most to you and stuff. But it doesn't have to be any one thing. It can be different day to day. You can absolutely have just, like if you're like, I gotta have dessert, something sweet after dinner, then that's fine. You just always put that in your budget for the day, and you fit everything else around it. So here's the benefits of flexible dieting. No foods are off limits, which is what I kind of have talked about. Absolutely no foods are off limits. Like legitimately, no foods are off limits. The only thing that I would say in there is things with trans fats are really not great for us. So I would stay away from those type of things. But other than that, if it fits, sorry, my dog's gonna bark. Hold on, I'm gonna pause this real quick. Okay, sorry, I had a little dog disagreement going on there, and then I couldn't figure out how to get the screen back on. I can't remember where I was at, but basically, you have the freedom to enjoy all foods in moderation without offsetting any of your progress. If you just account for them, you can eat, drink, whatever you want. This allows you to have a social life, a date night, allows you to be very flexible and adaptable. Obviously, it's called flexible dieting for a reason, because it's meant to be flexible. It's meant to like move with your lifestyle. And so if you are going to a horse show, um, anything that might come up like that, or if you know you're going to have to always be eating on the go or going to restaurants or whatever, all of that can work. Like there's no problem with that. You have to just start pre-planning a little bit and forward thinking and make a plan. But it's sustainable because you learn how to manage food and you learn how to stay adherent in any food environment. And that's, easier said than done for sure, but it teaches you skills that you can take on with your life. And so you always have those. You don't need any kind of external source. You don't need any kind of shakes, potions, foods, or whatever. It works with like regular food anywhere in any setting. You can use flexible dieting, like I said, at any situation, any setting, and it is also diet agnostic, meaning it can mold to whatever your preferences are. So if you are somebody that likes lower carb or higher carb, or like I said, wants dessert every night, it can work with all of those. I don't like people to think that they need to be low carb because carbs are evil, because obviously through this presentation, I hope people realize that as long as your carbs fit in your total calorie budget for the day, you can have carbs. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Zero carb, I mean, like 0% wrong with them. Carbs are fine. And actually, if more women particularly ate carbs, they would feel better. They would have better thyroid and hormone production. They would sleep better. Their stress and cortisol would go down because that's what carbs helps us do. But we are so afraid of eating carbs that we like end up screwing ourselves over for that. So if you're somebody that likes to eat the same things day to day, kind of roughly, it works for that too. If you're somebody that wants different foods or different meals every day, every meal, you can do that too. The most accurate method would be to use some kind of like tracking app to at least track calories. Calories is the main thing. Protein would be second. So, that's the most accurate method. But if you're not into that, you can go by a plate method, a portion size method, or if even you're like a little averse to doing those, you can use mindful eating and still implement flexible dieting. It can all work. It's really adaptable to anybody in any situation, anywhere with a little bit of work. So lastly, here, we'll sum it up real quick. The keys to flexible dieting, like if you're trying to get started on this, is you would determine your macro or calorie requirements for weight loss. And that's something I definitely help my clients do, obviously. Then from there, you fill those macros or calories with the foods you like. Like there's no one food or that you have to eat or that you can't eat or that you're forbidden to eat. Like literally not any, not one, nothing is required. I put an emphasis on less energy dense foods. Those are the ones that would give you more actual physical volume for the amount of calories you're getting, just because if you're in a weight loss plan, that does help you stay full. It's just kind of an easy hack. It's where you don't have to like eat a meal and then an hour later be hungry again. And then from there, if you hit your goal targets, you can add in treats as you wish and you can fit them in. So if you want to go to Dairy Queen for an ice cream cone one night, then that's totally fine. If you just account for it. If you want a glass of wine, fine too. You just got to account for it. And, with any diet, obviously adherence and consistency over time is the main factor to leading you to success. It's just most diets aren't really realistic to be sustainable for a long period of time. Or if you do get to your goals on them, then they're not sustainable once you come off the plan. Like they don't teach you anything. Most of these diet programs have coaches with them, but they're coaches that don't actually have a background in nutrition. They're just people that took some hour-long webinar from the company or whatever to learn to like allegedly teach people what to do to move out of their program. So they say they're like programs to get you past the program or the diet program, but they're really not. And you know, those people shouldn't be coaching people in nutrition. So that's really all I had for today. Quick 20 some minutes of presentation, which is perfect. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has. Always happy. I mean, you can drop them here. Feel free to unmute. Always happy. You can put them in the Facebook group, private message me on Facebook. I have my contact information here too on the slides. So with that, I will open it up for questions, and otherwise, hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks, Jenna. I just loved it. So just really appreciate your time today, and I will be following back up with you.
Awesome. Love that. Yep. Please reach out. So I'm happy if you have quick questions I can help with, you know, give you like a little quick tip or something. I'm happy to do that, but I'd love to discuss your goals and plans with you further too, if you're interested. So awesome. Thank you for jumping on.
Yep, I definitely am. Have a great night.
All righty. Thank you. You too.
Yep. Bye.
Alrighty, with that, I think we will wrap it up, and hopefully I get my recording for this episode, and everybody have a great day.